Okay, let's start off with what Max does well. You know, she's a relatable character in many ways. Like, she basically like the typical shy girl in schools. Like, she's awkward, uncertain, and still trying to figure out who she is and what she's trying to do with her life, basically. You know, qualities that resonate with many people in real life as well, especially teenagers and young adults. You know, her struggles with fitting in at the Blackwell Academy, despite the fact they got so much dirty stuff going on behind the scenes, if you know, you know. You know, whether it's navigating friendships and, you know, dealing with a lot of crisis, basically, you know, with Kate and all. You know, stuff like that is genuinely compelling. You know, her personality isn't over the top heroic or anything like that, you know, and that makes her feel more human as well. But Max represents like an everyday person who's just trying to make sense of a complicated world. Like, her relationships with other characters like Chloe and Kate are where she shines. You know, she's not perfect in these relationships, which adds a layer of authenticity. You know, the player can choose to make her supportive, distant, or even doubtful, you know, which makes her character feel dynamic and adaptable. You know, these characters gives us a way to project our own personal feelings onto her, making her a character that can be basically connectful with a variety of people. Like, Max's rewind ability is a significant part of what makes her so unique as a protagonist. You know, it adds a gameplay element that ties directly into her character's indecisiveness. You know, this power is more than just like a mechanic or anything like that. It's an extension of who Max is. You know, someone who constantly second guesses herself and wishes she could change the past. Like, it allows players to be more explorative and different with decisions. You know, basically like showcasing Max's uncertainty and the burden of choice in a very real and realistic way. While this mechanic emphasizes her humanity and vulnerability, it also raises questions about her morality, you know, her consequences, and the weight of our decisions. You know, Max's powers like give her like an edge as a protagonist, set her apart from other characters who are just along for the ride in their own respective stories. But here's where things get a little complicated. You know, as much as Max has some great qualities, she's also a fairly passive character. Like, for a protagonist with the ability to like manipulate time and everything, Max just feels like she's just being dragged along by the plot rather than actually driving the plot, if you know what I mean. Like, a lot of time, like, she reacts to like situations instead of proactively shaping them. Yes, you know, the players, you know, we made the choices and our choices dictate the matter of the goddamn story and everything, you know what I'm saying? But those choices often revolve around her responding to other characters or events rather than talking initiatively to herself, basically. Another issue is her sometimes flat delivery. While her dialogue can be charmingly awkward, it also lacks emotional depth that some situations demand, to be honest with you. Like, in a game where emotions run high and the stakes are personal, Max doesn't always feel like she matches like the intensity of the scenes around her. It's like she just got a whole poker blank face, like she just got no emotion at all, like Itachi. Like, there are moments when it feels like she's underreacting to events that should be shaking her to the core. If I had to compare Max's character development to something, it would have to be a mixed goddamn can of nuts. Pause. On one hand, we see her grow from a shy, indecisive girl into someone who can make tough decisions and stand by them, you know, standing on business. You know, her evolving friendship with Chloe and the guilt she feels about her past mistakes, you know, it drives her to become more assertive, at least by the game's end. But however though, her growth isn't even always consistent. Like, there are parts where it feels like Max is reverting to her old ways, or that the game doesn't even give her enough agency to truly change in the first place. You know, it's a bit frustrating when we see her still grappling with the same fears she had from the beginning, especially considering the fact that the intense experiences she goes through throughout the game. Come on, man, y'all can do better than that. So why is Max a decent protagonist? She's not the best, but she's most definitely not the worst, but it's because she's a character with relatable flaws and strengths, but also with limitations that actually hold her back for actually being truly iconic. I mean, I know Life is Strange has a passionate fan base, like a very passionate fan base, but like, her powers and, you know, the relationships, they bring a unique dynamic to the story, and her journey is meaningful in its own right, but her lack of agency and sometimes flat emotional range prevent her from like reaching the heights of some well-known gaming protagonists, in my opinion. Like, Max Caulfield is a character that resonates with so many people, and her imperfections make her feel more like one of us. But in a game where you are given the power to shape the story, Like I low key wish that she had like just a little bit more spark and more agency to like match the power that she wields. And that's why she lands on her firmly in the middle. Not the best, but not the worst at the same time. But she's still worth appreciating though. I'll give you that.